y'all, it's editor Amy here. Shéa and I are still on vacation, but good news, it is our last week and this is your last rerun of the summer. Better news, you get another chance to enjoy our interview with Linda Mercury. Now, funny story. Episode 5 was originally released late due to a broken foot. My broken foot. And guess fucking what? I just had that same foot x-rayed almost a full year and a half later, and it is still broken. Now, Linda's episode was always the plan for this week, so I'm pretty sure Linda is angry with me and has somehow cursed my left foot. I'm hoping to make amends. And Linda, if you're listening, please tell me what I need to do to remove your foot hacks. Anyway, we are headed back to episode 5 to talk about paranormal romance and how Linda created her oracle deck. I haven't done anything to the original episode other than add our intro and outro music as well as our branded transition images, so you'll get to enjoy the early graphics, sound, and editing. Shake yourself up a Clover Club and get ready for an interview with Linda Mercury.
Welcome, everybody, to Cliffhangers and Cocktails podcast with Amy Sissel and Shéa McLeod. And we are both USA Today best-selling authors of paranormal women's fiction, among other things, brought to you by the Caftan Coven. Yay!
Today is our 5th episode, and we're going to be talking with the amazing Linda Mercury, who I know is a very good friend of Shéa's.
She is.
And about her paranormal romances, as well as how she created her oracle deck, which is a thing I'm sure you know by now we're interested in.
Absolutely.
We've also got a delicious new magical cocktail to try. And we're going to talk about the full moon coming up on the 14th and Ostara coming up on the 20th.
Yeah.
This month, March.
Yes. We're technically recording this in February, and today is Amy's birthday. Woohoo!
Yay, happy
birthday to you. She said I could sing if I sang like Marilyn Monroe, so that was my
Marilyn. It sounded beautiful. I feel very honored and special.
That was my best Marilyn impression, so
I love it.
Well, we are starting off today with an awesome affirmation, and it's super simple. And you can just, anytime you're feeling like you just need to tell the universe that you're open and willing to receive, you just say this: I am willing to receive it all. Come on, universe, bring it. So
I will have some of that.
I will have some of that
and some of that, please.
That's a thing. It's so funny because you bring that up, because I used to struggle a little bit with seeing other people, other authors who, we started at the same time and they're off buying houses and, cars and putting in swimming pools. And I'm just muddling along, doing my little thing. And I'm not at that level financially. And it used to kind of get me every once in a while. So I kind of started twisting that around and just saying, instead of letting it get to me, I started going, because I absolutely want their success for them. I think that's amazing and I'm super happy for them. But it's really hard when you see people doing really well and you're like, but I want some of that too. So I just started telling the universe, hey, I'll have some of that.
It's so easy to let comparison come in and pull you down.
Absolutely.
And we never know what's going on completely in other people's lives. What kind of support they have outside of their writing.
Right.
Did they start out with $1 million to advertise immediately? Because I certainly didn't.
Yeah.
We don't know what other people's situations were.
Exactly.
So it's hard, but it's so easy to look at somebody and be like, but how come not me?
How come I'm not there yet? And it's a comparison is absolutely the thief of joy. And
100%.
I think it's the thief of abundance as well, because then you get into that trap of comparing yourself and feeling less than and feeling like, why don't I deserve it? And you just get into this vicious cycle and it locks down your ability to receive, I think. And so hence, I am willing to receive it all. Yeah.
I'm happy for you, and I want some too.
Absolutely. Woohoo! We will have it. Everybody, you get a beach house, and you get a beach house, and you get... Okay, I don't necessarily want a beach house unless I'm living at the beach, but
But I don't need a beach house. I wouldn't say
I wouldn't
no.
say no, but like,
What if it was my elderly, heretofore unknown aunt who
mm,
died under mysterious circumstances
uh-huh.
and left me her beach house, and now I have to move to the beach to take care of this crumbling edifice? And do I have any money? And who's died in my past? But look, there's a lesbian handy woman in flannel who's going to help me fix it up, and now we will have romance. Then I'd take a beach house. I think I killed Shéa, you guys. She's laughing, but like silence. Oh no,
Oh my word.
my
Okay.
co-host is gone. Oh wait,
That that's like the best like Hallmark movie ever. They do lesbian shows now, which
oh they
is
do.
yeah, they do. They have lesbian romances, and
Fantastic.
they're Hallmark, and that is like totally like the probably the plot to about all of two of them. So
Okay.
anyway, we've
Should we?
we've gone way off the rails
Oh,
once
should we
again.
talk about the moon?
We probably should talk about the moon because we promised that there was a full moon coming up, didn't we?
We did, and it has nothing to do with Hallmark romances,
No, no.
or beach reads.
Mm-mm.
So let's move on to the moon. That would be a funny beach read, though.
So this is a sexy one. It is called the worm moon.
Ugh. I mean, that sounds so fun. Why is it called that, Shéa? Tell me more.
Well, Amy, let me tell you why it is called the worm moon. Because this is the time of the year when the little earthworms start wriggling around toward the surface and stirring things up underground, and things are kind of starting to poke their way up through the soil, and that's why it's called the worm moon. Probably.
Sounds vaguely erotic.
Possibly.
Things are just poking up.
Just poking up. Things are poking up. And yeah, so the ground is thawing, the worms are doing their thing, they're churning the earth and making movement, and that's sort of what the moon is about. This moon is about spiritually about movement, and movement is what brings about change. And we've kind of been planting our metaphysical seeds through the dark time of, and we're coming out of the dark time of the season, and those metaphysical seeds are starting to sort of move.
Yeah. Well, and this is something that has come up with me a lot lately,
Mm-hmm.
is that, sometimes movement isn't fun, but necessary. And for me,
Yes.
like, we're going literal with that right now. I
Mm-hmm.
am in the process of moving to Portugal in the next
I
6
know.
months.
I'm so happy for you and so sad for me.
You'll have some of that.
I will have some of that. Yeah.
And my
Definitely.
partner moved there about a year ago, almost 10 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got stuff set up there. So it's not as hard as it would be if I was starting from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still hard. I'm moving myself and my almost teenager. She'll be 13 when we move. And like, I have this whole house space.
Mm-hmm.
And shockingly, I have stuff here.
Really?
Like furniture. And things that I like,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't need in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to bring. Do I need to bring my cocktail glasses? I bet they have cocktail glasses in Port. You know what? I bet Chris might have cocktail glasses already.
I bet he does. And I bet you could find some really cute cocktail glasses in Portugal.
Okay, I know he has wine glasses.
So you probably don't
when I was there in
need
August.
them. Yeah, you probably don't
I
need them.
don't
Like,
need
it's an
mine.
excuse to buy more, right? Definitely take your rocks in your oracle decks.
Well, yeah. I have a suitcase set aside for that already.
She waddles onto the plane with pockets bulging with crystals. No, these are my emotional support crystals.
But yeah, moving and change and
Yes.
doing it. And I was hanging out with Shéa and our friend Samantha a week ago, and celebrating Yule. A little bit late, but that's cool.
And
what do we call Yule Bulk?
Yule Bulk, yeah, because we were kind of doing both, and they were both late.
You gave me the Oracle deck. Yes, movement. I was stressed. So I pulled
Yeah.
the card from my new Oracle deck and it's like, yeah, you should be. But you can't just be paralyzed. Move forward. And then
That would be so
I had
helpful
gotten
sometimes.
Samantha and Shéa Oracle decks. And
Hmm.
both of theirs said the same thing, basically.
You know, like,
Also,
okay.
like some patchouli or something.
Yeah, patchouli. My card was patchouli because mine's a kitchen witch oracle deck. And so everything is like recipe oriented. Not necessarily, to be clear, don't eat patchouli. This was not a recipe
Do
for
not do that.
ingestion. But yeah, it was again all about change and movement and like I'm like what yeah. So
So fine, universe, I hear you. And
okay.
now this comes up
Uh-huh.
and just keep moving.
Just keep moving. It's not
Literally,
always fun, but it is necessary to bring
it is
about change.
necessary.
And so,
Um,
yeah.
oh, what?
Oh, I was just going to say, so even like if nothing feels like it's going on the surface, this, things are going on underneath. Things are happening and embrace the movement because even if it's not fun all the time. Yeah. There's also a blood moon this year. Did you know that? The worm moon is also a bloodworm moon.
Ew. Okay.
A blood moon is just basically a lunar eclipse, right? So, during a full moon. And so full moons are about getting clear, moving on, freeing yourself, and lunar eclipses are about they just kind of up the intensity. And they just kind of like give you a wake up call, and there's like shifts in energy, like out of nowhere. And so they're together. The worm moon and the blood moon are a catalyst for personal growth, fresh starts, and meaningful change, which brings us right back to Portugal.
All of this is about me.
It's
I
all
feel
about
like
you, babe.
super
All about
special
you.
right now.
Well, it is your birthday, so
It is my birthday today, for sure. And that will still be in Pisces season,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
which is great because Pisces season is clearly the best season.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
often those moons have like if it's a in the Pisces season, that's going to affect a Pisces sign way in a really strong way. So hold on to your britches.
so this is a great time to do a little meditating on the change that you want to see, on
Mm-hmm.
like the movement you need to take.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe evaluate a little bit like what phase you need to close down to move on to the next phase. Because the full moon is a really great time to close things and move on to another chapter.
Mm-hmm. It's a good time for decluttering.
Now you're
Speaking
attacking me.
of, now I am definitely attacking you, either literally or emotionally, or maybe both. So, if you've got some emotional decluttering to do, or maybe you have to go through some cocktail glasses and pare down, just saying. She is glaring at me and taking a sip of her cocktail. For those of you who are not watching this on YouTube. So why don't we talk, moving on so that, I don't poke at you too much. Let's talk about Ostara, because Ostara is coming up on the 20th of March, and that is a really
Yay.
wonderful time. Yay! We're coming away from the bloody worms and we're going to Ostara.
Spring, light from the
Spring!
sun.
Woohoo!
Earth goes, hello.
Hello! Welcome! Okay, I
So this
drank
is
too
where we
much of my
have
cocktail
balance.
already. Yeah.
Because we have the equal light and dark.
Hmm.
We're looking at balance. I don't know if you've ever have you ever done the thing where you can balance an egg on the equinox?
I haven't. Is that a thing? A real thing?
I think it's a real thing. All right.
That's wild. I'm gonna
Uh,
have to try that. Is it a
write
boiled
that
egg or a
down.
raw egg? Write that down.
I just yell it, hoping someone will somewhere. So there's a lot of symbols, and I don't, in different places you'll have different
Mhm.
different visuals of what you're gonna see.
Right.
For us, we're gonna have flowers.
Hmm.
Stuff is gonna be blooming.
Hmm.
Probably the tulips will be blooming by then. I'm
Probably.
surprised they're not yet, actually.
Irises,
Obvious
probably.
irises, crocuses will definitely be
Hmm.
daffodils, and the hyacinth. probably. It'll be so pretty.
It
I
will.
love spring in Portland.
Hmm.
But there's also going to be like, this is also, other symbols are like butterflies and fairies and rabbits and eggs. Fertility. Fertility.
Fertility, yes.
Um,
And
yeah.
of course, it's the festival of fertility, not just of making babies, although it is that, but it's also fertility in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
Rebirth, growth, renewal, balance, and of course, new beginnings after all of that wormy movement earlier in
Would
the
you stop with the worm?
um
So it's new beginnings, new
yeah,
beginnings.
new
And
beginnings.
the crystals associated with any of these aspects that are appropriate for this time of year include citrine, clear
Hmm.
quartz, fluorite, lapis lazuli, moonstone, and amazonite.
I found a lot of lists of people like, oh, these are good ones, and these are good ones. And I think it's really any stone that celebrates or that has any of these aspects is good for this time of year. Or even just choose your stones based on color, which I often do. And somehow that ends up working out weirdly.
Yeah, because
Way.
pastel is really like the pastel, like the
Yeah.
early spring colors are
Mm-hmm.
really what we're looking at this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
Like your light yellows, your or all your spring flowers,
Mm-hmm.
lavender, and the new green grass. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is really. I'm wearing clear quartz necklace
I'm
today
just,
and
yeah,
an amethyst bracelet because it is still February when we're recording.
it's
That
still February, yes.
is my birthstone.
And amethyst is a good one for
For always.
Ostara as well. Yeah, for
It's
always and always.
pale purple.
So there's some different ways we can celebrate Ostara. We already talked about decorating eggs. Um, and enjoying egg-based dishes, like make yourself some deviled eggs, decorate those
Oh,
eggs. Oh yeah. Oh, and then of course, yes, as Amy held up our cocktail glasses, we're going to talk in a minute about an egg-based cocktail. Well, that sounds weird. It's really a raspberry cocktail with some egg in it, which sounds really strange, but we'll get there.
we'll get there. We'll get there. It'll sound less strange in a minute.
So I kind of thought of you about the recentering nature walk because you always like to you always seem to like to do your walks and your jogs out in nature.
I do. I like to hug the trees.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So as you're doing your little walk or your run, you can focus on your breathing, about letting go of the stress and the worries and regaining balance with each step, and like just kind of turn it into a little bit of a spell work as you're
Yeah.
doing your thing.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Definitely going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to go run today, but here in Portland on this specific day, it was raining really, really,
it
really, really hard.
it was chucking
And I
down
don't
pretty
mind
good.
running in the rain, but I do not like running in a downpour.
And it's not it's a cold rain too. Like
It,
cold.
it's like warmer than it has been, but
Yeah.
it's
Still
cold with the rain.
yes, it is
I
rather.
don't know. Anyway, yes.
You can also, Miss Green Witch, do a little bit of seed magic as well. So
Yeah. I
plant
need
some
to
seeds.
I'm probably just gonna repot some plants. Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
like fingers in the dirt,
Mm-hmm.
giving them new life, even
Mm-hmm.
though they are like giving them chances to grow and expand.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll move on to give other I love plants so much. I love them. So then I can give them to somebody else to have joy.
So we're going to talk about this drink that we chose for today because it's very Ostara. It's got raspberries, it's got egg, it's a fun sort of frothy sort of drink. And one of the it kind of it's all about new beginnings, and one of the things that this drink calls for is raspberry syrup, and there's a little recipe to make your own raspberry syrup, and we're going to put the recipe in the comment in the show notes. But Amy assured me she had a little story about raspberries, so I am dying to hear this story because she promised to share it with us. So
I have had the worst time with this cocktail. Like there have been
you're the one who
roadblocks
chose
every
it.
I know. Okay, so I bought raspberries a couple days ago and like, I don't know, Thursday. Today's Monday. So I bought them on Thursday
Hmm.
because originally we were going to record on Friday.
Hmm.
And I wanted to make sure I was ready. I was going to make the syrup. It was going to be great.
Mm.
Well, when I went in to do that Saturday evening so that I'd have my great syrup ready for today,
Hmm.
um, all the raspberries were moldy.
Ew. Okay.
Every like they were it was and like they were not old. They were freshly purchased from a reliable source of freshness and grocery store, and just mold. So
Ooh.
obviously that's not the best way to do a
That
cocktail.
is not a good way to do a cocktail. No.
So today, as I was driving my child home from school,
Hmm.
we stopped at a different grocery store because we were also weirdly out of baking powder, which I don't think I've ever run out of baking powder. Or like,
That's
that's
one of those
weird.
magical things that just seems to always be like half full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so strange. And so we had to stop to get that baking powder and baking soda, both gone. So she could make me cookies today. And I'm
Good
like, okay, I'm gonna
child.
get new raspberries. New raspberries.
Hmm.
I got my raspberries, grabbed a couple other things, took 3 steps, dropped the raspberries on the floor. So there's
God.
raspberries everywhere because it was just it's not fresh pack right now because of course it's
Right.
winterish, and so they were in a little plastic
Uh-huh.
clamshell. Popped open, raspberries everywhere. I popped it closed again, and then spent the next few minutes picking up raspberries, those little little circly bits when the raspberries exploded
Hmm.
off the floor. And that was great. That was super.
Awesome.
And
Super
um,
awesome.
yeah, dropped them again.
God,
Um,
this would totally happen to me.
purchased them, got them in a bag,
And they're practically jam at this point, right?
and they opened in the bag on the way home.
Oh my gosh, what the heck?
And so I didn't have time to make the whole syrup. So I did the alternate thing. I muddled some raspberries with some simple syrup, and did that piece. I didn't do the fancy way Shea did it because first of all,
I'll
I'm not
do the
fancy.
fancy way. I am fancy.
And
I am a kitchen witch.
I had to also I had bought gin because I was out of gin, which is again
Oh,
strange.
I am now out of gin after this
Well, now
recipe.
I'm not anymore. I went and got my favorite gin from the liquor store the other day. So today I had to open it and it wouldn't open. And I could not get it open. Finally I got it open. And then I have my tonic and I have tiny bottles of not tonic, vermouth.
Vermouth, yeah.
I have tiny bottles of vermouth because I never use very much. And so
Hmm.
I don't like it to go to bad. So I have little teeny bottles. And I couldn't get it open. And I almost like cut my finger off trying
Oh
to open the
no.
plastic stuff. And then like I spilled gin and I spilled sticky syrup and I like everything just my counter looked like I'd done some kind of murder because there's raspberry stuff everywhere. The bag that it had come in, like that I carried home was like dripping red.
Like
Like,
you've got body parts in there or something.
yes. And but I have a cocktail. I have a cocktail.
Yay!
And I'm really happy. And it is really good.
Oh, well,
But it
I
was a
did
journey.
that is a heck of a journey. See, now I went the frozen raspberry route because I am like, if I order fresh raspberries, like things will go wrong. It will just be bad. So I got frozen ones and thawed them because I figured that's fine. And it did, it worked out fine. So maybe we need to put in the show notes. Maybe I need to put you can use frozen raspberry.
You even say that
Oh, I
in
did.
the
Yes, I do
recipe.
say. Oh, I do say that, don't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I actually did, the original simple syrup or raspberry syrup recipe is she has you do the macerate the fresh raspberries with the sugar. And then once they've done that for 30 minutes, you add the water and then you add the vodka. Well, I thought, and then you just strain it immediately. And I'm like, well, that's not okay because I want my raspberry syrup to taste super raspberry because I really love raspberry. So I actually left everything with the vodka and everything in a bowl for like well, I was going to leave it just overnight, but then we rescheduled. So I left it in for like 48 hours before I strained it. And
It's so good.
so it is really, yeah, it's super dark red and it's super raspberry flavor and it's really good. And because it has the vodka in it, it'll last longer than if it was just like a raspberry simple syrup. So
I added vodka to mine, even though that's not necessary for the
it
way
is,
I did it.
yeah.
But I'm like, I want to. The vodka is here. The vodka is right
I am
here on the
adding the
counter.
vodka. Well, the reality is you could actually, I have another recipe that's very similar to this that calls where you could use either gin or vodka. And so if you really wanted it to be more raspberry and less like, because the gin adds like sort of a botanical flavor to it. And depending on what gin you use will affect that botanical flavor. But if you wanted to just really taste the raspberry, you could just go with vodka. And
I have raspberry gin. I could have avoided all of this.
you could have. You could have just gone straight up with raspberry gin.
It would have been so pretty. The raspberry gin is really
Well,
good.
you'll just have to make it again.
Well, you know what? Mine's almost gone, and it's my birthday, so I might have to make another
So
one
you might have to
just
make
to
another one.
see if it works.
And I'll have to make one like with vodka to like because I'm out of gin now. But
And then I might have to make one of vodka to see if that works.
it's all for science and magic.
Science!
So the ingredients in this are 1.5, this is per serving, 1.5 ounces of gin, a half an ounce dry vermouth. And I did actually order vermouth. I was going to try subbing out sherry because I didn't have vermouth, but then I, decided to order some vermouth. And I used what she recommended, which is a certain brand, but I think you could use any. Half an ounce of lemon juice, half an ounce of the raspberry syrup that we just talked about, and 1/4 of an ounce of fresh egg white, which is about a tablespoon. And the fresher, the better with the egg white. And then you're just going to put everything into a cocktail shaker with some ice, shake it a little bit to get it chilled. And now this is where it gets a little different. You're going to strain it out, remove the ice from the cocktail shaker, put the liquid back in the cocktail shaker and shake it really good to get the eggs sort of creamy and fluffy and foamy because you're going to create kind of a foam there, and then pour the drink into a chilled cocktail glass and garnish with raspberries.
I do recommend not trying to do all of these steps when you're frantic and running late to your podcast recording. Because when everything starts to go wrong and you're getting more and more upset that you're running more and more late, then it gets worse. And then you end up with something that isn't super frothy.
Mine
Although
was not
was
super
frothier by the
frothy.
time I carted it down the stairs.
Yeah, it'll froth in the glass as you run around your house. But yeah, so and like the original recipe called for fresh raspberries, but I used frozen raspberries and just let them macerate with the sugar a little bit longer, and so they thawed and did their thing. Raspberry magical properties are often used in women's magic, like so they're potent for that. That's why raspberry leaves are often used for like cramps and things like that because it's all about the female energy, and it invokes fertility and love. And again, once again, fertility not just in the baby popping out, but in the abundance in general and the fertility in all things.
I feel like we need that to be like the tagline,
yeah,
of our show. Fertility and babies.
Yeah. I just want to make that really clear because a lot of people think fertility in spell work is just about fertility in procreation, and of course it is, but it also often symbolizes other types of fertility. You can have fertility in business, fertility in your social life, fertility in your physical self. Yeah, so fertility in your garden. Lemon is for purification and to banish negative energies, which is always important in any kind of spell work. The egg is about life and new beginnings. I will say, well, if you're pregnant, you shouldn't be drinking probably alcohol anyway, like not a cocktail, and definitely you should not be imbibing raw egg. Just
yes.
This is not probably, I mean, talk to your doctor, but I'm pretty sure your doctor's going to agree.
We are not medical professionals.
We are not medical professionals, but from everything I know, you should not be eating raw egg. Um, Sugar is about magical and spiritual abundance, and it's primarily used in spell work for its ability to attract. So you want to attract that fertility, that abundance, get in some sugar. Gin is useful in spells promoting good health and for binding together other magical properties of the spell. Vodka is for motivation, keep you going.
Good, I added that vodka.
Yeah, it's a good thing you did. And then vermouth is for purification and protection.
Aww.
So it's all about life and new beginnings. We've planted the seeds, we've cleared the way, and now we're seeing the fruits of our labor beginning to arrive. So,
hey, movement is good.
Movement is great because you're either moving or you're dying.
Oh. Well, that was darker than I thought we were going to go with that.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's
Yeah.
okay. That's
But
okay.
I mean, or mulching. I don't know. We're
that involves worms again.
Yes, we're back to the worms. Stagnation is not good in life.
That's right. Okay.
Okay.
So we had a great interview, right?
Yes, totally. Linda Mercury. She's my fantastic co-author for one of my series, and she's also a good friend. And she's made an oracle deck, which I think is really cool.
Super fun. Yeah.
So we're going to go and talk to her right now. Welcome, Linda Mercury, to the Cliffhangers and Cocktails podcast. We are so excited to have you here.
Yay. I am super thrilled to be here.
Yay.
The first question is...
This is so important.
This is really important. Do you have a favorite cocktail or mocktail? Or does your characters have one?
Yes. My favorite cocktail is Saint Germain, champagne, and a candied hibiscus flower.
Oh, that sounds tasty.
Anything with champagne. Like, I love you now. You're my favorite.
Yay. And then my favorite mocktail, I use the Seed Lip non-alcoholic spirits. They are not paying me to say this. And they have a spice spirit, and I love that with some club soda, plain seltzer, and then another candied hibiscus flower, because candied hibiscus flowers are like the most beautiful thing to put in a fancy pants glass.
And they are delicious because I have been to Linda's house and I have had this beverage, and it's really, really tasty.
And it makes you feel pretty and sophisticated, and you're like, ooh, I'm sitting in a lounge in Vegas kind of thing.
Ooh.
Very much so.
Yeah. Wow.
So my vampire character, Valerie Trait, from my Bloodwing series, likes blood and Coke.
I love that so much.
As one does. Yeah, I frequently like a little blood in my Coke.
Yeah. Sweet and spicy. And then Alice Kennedy, who is from The Dream Factory, which is the first book that Shéa and I wrote together. She loves rich, fruity red wine.
I do love wine.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your author journey? When did you begin writing?
I always wrote as a little kid. You're always making, like, I would doodle on my desk in school, and I'd do like little comic books, and there'd be, like, I always wanted to write Wonder Woman, and you got to get the arms in there, and it was always girl power. And before becoming a writer, I used to be a librarian, I was a historian, I was a professional clown in my youth. Fortunately, I didn't have to do any of those all at the same time. And then
I'm obsessed with professional clown. No, we're moving on. Okay.
And so on September 11th, I was working at the library, and it was so devastating. And in school, I had an academic background in Middle Eastern history. And with the chaos of the world at that time, I felt like I needed to do more than I needed to get this information that I'd had for so long out there in the world. And that's one of the reasons why I started writing. I started with writing like documentary films, which went nowhere, was terrible at it. I did like little stick figure things. It was very bad. And then I moved into fiction because I knew there had to be a good way to bring people together
Hmm.
with compassion and connection and intimacy. And, we had to learn to be kind to each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And now I'm all about love and history and passion and coming together. And life is better when people tell each other the truth of who they are.
Mm,
What
totally
genres
agree.
do you write in now?
Right now, I write in paranormal romance. I
Nice.
write in magical realism with Shéa, and I do some nonfiction especially with oracle decks and books to help writers. I put together a workbook called Arousal to Zipper, which helps
Oh,
writers. Would you like to see the cover? I love
yes,
my cover.
obviously.
Oh,
Oh,
wait,
you have to.
it's
Oh
defuzz.
no.
Oh no, let me defuzz. Then you're gonna have to see my room. It's called
Ooh.
Arouse a Zipper Workbook, Writing the Best
Okay.
Sex of Your Life.
Are those peaches?
Yes.
I
Okay,
just,
great.
I love those peaches. They are
That's fantastic.
so subtle, so subtle, so subtle. I love it.
And I have one that's called Handcuffs Teach Trust, Writing the Best BDSM of Your Life. And then I do another one that's called Rejects Bad Reviews and Mean People, and it's about how to deal with rejections and bad reviews and, with the things you deal with as an author.
Hmm.
As because people can be mean,
Mm.
and a lot of people are out there trying to prove how smart they are by putting down other people's work.
Ah.
And I'm like, no, we need to learn how to cope with that without, everyone's like, well, you just need a thicker skin, and I'm like, well, you don't. They're just mean. Don't let your skin get
100%.
thick. This is having thin skin is how we got the society for the prevention of cruelty to animals and
Mm,
child labor laws. So
Hmm.
mm,
Yeah, I think it's perfectly okay to be offended by
yeah,
things and to
yeah,
be hurt by the bad things in the world.
exactly.
mm. So, tell us more. First, tell us about the Oracle deck. So you talked about the Oracle deck, and this
Yeah.
is like, of course, we're all about that sort of thing here at the
All right.
podcast. So tell us like why you made an Oracle deck and kind of like what were the kind of how did you go
How did it
about
get
doing
there?
it? Yeah.
Well, in the Dream Factory, I made up an imaginary book for our heroine to read, and each chapter started with this little made up affirmation that I
Hmm.
came up with. And I thought they were so cute. And I'm like, this is really kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so one day I was just kind of doodling around with my, with art. You just kind of like doodle and relax. And it's like, oh, hey, this would look really cute with one of the sayings. And so I came up with a deck. And oh, that one's upside down. Let me show you the pictures in a better size because the deck's just a little bit about a tarot sized deck. And so it's kind of hard to show on camera. So here's one that I did, and it says, I love creating.
Mm.
And that's the hand
Ah,
of Constantine from Rome.
Ah,
oh,
yes.
wow, that's so cool.
So it just, it's something when you're trying to figure out what you're going to do today. And it was called um, Affirmations for Women in Business.
I own that book. I just want you to know. I have that. It's over there on the side of my desk.
It's a great
And
book.
and so I just had so much fun putting it together. Here's it
Oh, it's
says
so pretty.
hearts starve as well as bodies give us bread, but give us roses. And that's from the Lawrence textile strike in 1912. And that's the famous labor law. And because that was the lesson our heroine needed to learn in that book, that not only did she need bread, but she needed beauty and she needed to start her life. And that's that's just been a big motto of mine since I first learned about that phrase. And
I
when I was
love
a
that.
child, I think it was just because it's such a bold statement. And I think as women in business, you need a little extra oomph
Mm.
because sexism,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
the patriarchy.
yeah,
Patriarchy, yay.
patriarchy.
But I just love that you do the art as well as the affirmations. Like you just do the
Yeah.
whole thing. And that was like when we were writing the books, I was like, Linda, we need another affirmation because I just thought you were so good at writing those, and
Oh,
it's
thank
not my
you.
forte.
Here's a here's another one that I really like. It says, I am an entrepreneur and I am invincible.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
I
These
love
are
that.
gorgeous.
Thank you.
Where does one acquire this?
Well, one can get the books through Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
And then if you want an individual print or the deck, you come to my website, www.lindamercury.com, and you buy them through my store. And
Perfect.
so
Yeah, and we'll drop that link definitely in the show
and
notes.
so there's
Sure.
and then I wrote I have not made the deck for it, but I did write a second book of affirmations for the second book, and it's called Start Your Life Now.
Mm.
Oh, I will be
And that
picking that
was
up as well.
so it's got the affirmations, the art. So this one is I embody confidence, grace, and beauty. And there's
Oh,
peacocks and greenery. And
oh, I love that.
so that's just one of the things that I do when I'm like stuck with the words. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to say next. I move over to making some affirmation art.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love
That's
it.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. So how many books have you published?
A total of 20.
That's awesome.
Mm.
That's fantastic. And so do you have multiple series?
I do. I have an erotic coming of age series that I call the anti-vamp series, and a paranormal romance series. They're my first three books called Blood Wings, which is Dracula's Secret, Dracula's Desires, and Dracula Unleashed. And I have this sweet, feel good, all about girl power, the Dream Factory series.
Okay.
And then there's my writing advice series, which I
Yeah,
call the writer's toolbox.
I love that. Well,
So,
um, oh, go ahead,
oh,
Shea.
no, you go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay,
You go
fine,
ahead.
fine. What inspired you to write your paranormal romance books?
Um, I've read romance since I was in middle school, which was like 1970.
We won't talk
And
about
yeah,
that.
and I was I was always really fascinated because I grew up in a very small town in northern Illinois in the 70s and the 80s, and everyone was obsessed with sex, but nobody actually talked about it. It was like it's like the only thing sort of to do, you in the middle of all the cornfields. And I was very careful not to get too involved in any of that because it's like I don't want to be stuck here. But it's like why is this such a powerful force that we're afraid of? And so I wanted to write romance that was heavily female pleasure centric, that a lot of romances didn't actually talk about. I mean, at that time, did not talk about her actually liking this guy. That you were usually jerks,
Yeah.
and they didn't talk about what made her powerful or made her strong. And I why it's why I read romances. I wanted women to have adventures. I wanted us not to be killed off for men's stories.
Yeah.
The women in refrigerators trope.
Right.
I don't want that anymore. And I
Right.
want us to live, and I want us to go out there, and I want us to live our dreams, and I want us to have passion, and I want us to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think romance is really the only genre that that explores those themes.
Mm-hmm.
Very few other genres talk about women's stories.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I went into paranormal romance.
Love that. That's fantastic. And
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%. Like I grew up in a small town in South Dakota, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
not a lot to do there,
Yeah,
honestly. Um, yeah, for
yeah,
sure. But yeah, it's not just surviving, it's thriving
it
as a woman.
is. And, we get to have our dreams and we get to have them taken seriously.
Absolutely.
And that's just a sad truth that a lot of times we're gaslit or belittled, and we get to have a space that nurtures us and encourages us and lifts us up.
I love that.
Yes.
That's one of the things
Yes.
I love about romance in general. But yeah.
Hmm.
So tell me, are your books all set in diverse places? Do you have a place that you keep coming back to?
So the Dream Factory is in an imaginary town in Southern Illinois. And it's kind of based a combination of my mother's hometown and where my brother lives. And they're very small towns. They could be a little depressed. And this is about how when women live their dreams, they bring vitalization to everything around them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I keep going back to Gold Coast. My other fictions, I travel all over the world for. I love to set books in Istanbul, and I love to set books I set my standalone romance, Curse of the Spider Woman. I set that in Greece a few years ago during the financial crisis. And I love to set things in Europe. Um, I've set books in Paris and London and scenes in Vienna. I'm working on a steampunk, which starts in Vienna and then goes in Istanbul and then all around the Ottoman Empire.
So cool.
So I
I
love
love touring the world in books.
it.
Oh
Is.
yeah.
It's the best way to go because you don't have to pack.
Still get to sleep in my own bed every
Yeah,
night.
Exactly.
yeah.
This is why I really wish they would like invent teleportation. So I
Kidding.
just
Go somewhere, go, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to come home, going to take a nap, maybe take a little bath in my own bathtub, and then go back out.
exactly.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
Oh, and then there's no tiny laundromats.
I know.
Mm.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then in Gold Coast, I had to make the town haunted,
Obviously.
and with the recurring
Yeah.
characters, it's just turning
Yeah.
into a lovely community that
Yeah.
I adore visiting.
I have to say it's fun to write. It's fun to visit and
Mhm.
revisit and all the sort of things that these women learn and help each other. I just love the community. I mean, okay, tooting our own horn here, but I do.
I love our books.
I do too. So what's the most interesting or unusual research you've done for a book that you've written?
So when I wrote Curse of the Spider Woman, I went into really deep research about the Oracle of Delphi and the geography of Greece and where all these stories took, all the ancient mythology took place. In the current work, Haven of Hopes and Dreams, I'm learning about the symbolic and traditional meaning of plants. And I'm not a gardener, so this is proving to be a real fun research challenge. And it's been a hoot because I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that grapes stood for abundance and, whatever. So that's been fun
Yeah.
trying to, make those connections.
So tell us what your plans are for, well, next year. Like, how many books you plan to put out, or is there going to be more from these series? Are you going to do more oracle decks, more
Yes.
affirmation books?
Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. I want to release the 5th book in the Dream Factory series. We're calling it The Haven of Hopes and Dreams. And that's the story of a woman who's like walked away from her really, really nasty marriage and how she's discovering herself through creating her own business and gardening. And then I'm going to finish that first draft for that Middle Eastern steampunk that I've been thinking about.
Oh,
I want to
wow.
do a 3rd story in my anti-vamp series. I wanted to do something playful and sexy. And then as I keep going, this is going to be, create more art and see what words come from it and see, because that's like every single Dream Factory book has affirmations in it. So I'm slowly working on making a deck for each book.
Oh.
Yeah,
So exciting. Love
it
it.
is fun.
So I want to know if one of your series was picked up for television, which one would you want it to be first, and what actor do you want to play your main character?
I think I think it would be Dream Factory would be
Okay.
first. And I have these beautiful young actresses, Yahara Shahidi or Zendaya for Alice
Zendaya.
Kennedy.
Yeah.
So cool. And then in the Blood Wing series, I would cast Rebecca Ferguson, and for her love interest, I would cast Daniel Craig. And then when I wrote the anti-vamp series, I imagined Salma Hayek as the main
Hmm.
character, someone very sensual and very in touch. And so somebody who would be age appropriate for that young character, maybe Luna Blaze or Isabella Merced, and of course Mae West for Celeste. So it's anti-vamp. But I think a modern actress that could bring that character to life would be like Gina Davis or Kim Passenger. They're very talented women, and they could bring so much power to this story of, knowing yourself and accepting your sexuality.
That. So finally,
Yay!
where can people find out more about you?
You can come to my website at www.lindamercury.com, or you can drop me a line at lindamercuryromance@gmail.com. And I love hearing from people, so please correspond. It's every author loves to hear from people.
Do you do
And
a
if,
social media like regularly
oh, I
or?
do. I have Instagram and Facebook. So Instagram is Linda Mercury. So at Facebook, they're both a little bit casual. I'm not someone who can post, 3 times a day, because it's like that just takes time away from writing.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure.
Well,
So, but I do have social media presence.
it has been so awesome having you here, and thank you
I'm
so much for joining us.
I'm
Yeah.
so delighted that you asked me and honored.
We'll be
Thank you
sure to
so
drop all
much.
your links into the show notes,
Thank you.
and we look forward to your next endeavors. Thanks for
Thank
stopping
you.
by.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was a fantastic interview,
It really
and
was.
everyone needs to go and pick up Linda's Oracle deck. They need to pick up her book, and
Yes,
it will be amazing.
we will definitely put those
Amazing.
links in the show notes.
But speaking of Oracle decks,
Mm-hmm.
I just got a new Oracle deck, and I am super excited. And I'm
Yay.
sure you've heard me mention my delight in the Seasons of the Witch Oracle deck series
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that Juliet Diaz has put out.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is the last one in the 8 holiday series.
Oh my
And it
goodness.
happens to be the Ostara deck. Oh, I got my O got real old. You can tell where I'm from, I guess. Not Canada,
No.
but close. So I have that Ostara Oracle deck that I just got, and Lorraine Anderson and Juliet Diaz put this together, and this one is illustrated by Tiana Lukovic. So I have just opened this today, and I shuffled it before, but I have not yet picked, I haven't even picked a single card yet. I didn't even do a sample card.
Ooh.
So I've shuffled it. I'm cutting the deck.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
And this is
Oh, nice.
a shimmery edges.
I love it.
Anyway, so I'm gonna pick my card.
Okay.
I'm picking the card. This card, for people who can't see this, has the full moon on it, and then at the top and the bottom there are like running rabbits.
This is so cute.
So it's so cute. All right, we have pulled. Oh dear God!
Not worms.
Why did I? No, it's not worms. Pasta rare bomb. Which is Easter egg trees. Okay, so I don't speak German very well. I can do I can count to 5. I can actually count to 6.
I can sing O Tannenbaum.
I can sing part of it. Well, and that's why as soon as I saw Baum, I knew it was German.
Yeah.
I can say Gesundheit, bitte.
Oh, yeah.
Ich bin, du bist, ist.
Yeah, that's about what I've got.
Ja, Fräulein.
Willkommen. I mean, it's pretty limited. I could probably order a beer and find my way to the bathroom.
Ein Bier, bitte.
Ein Bier, bitte. And I don't even like beer, so.
Wine is just probably being.
Probably. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think it matters because we're not here to speak German.
We're not here to speak German. We are here to talk about the Oracle card that has German on it.
So this says you mustn't forget to embrace the magic of community care, which I think is just really lovely. And I'm going to look this up in the book. Number 26. This deck is beautiful. 26. Okay. I'm not going to say the word again. But the keywords are traditions, family connections, celebration of spring. And obviously that's what a star deck would talk about. So the Easter egg tree is a centuries-old Germanic tradition of decorating tree branches with Easter eggs in celebration of Easter. So the tradition is carried down through the years, parent to child, creating cheerful memories, this says. Each tree is completely different from the next, a reflection of the many hands who have aided in its creation. It has emerged to inspire you to rejoice in shared experiences. Lean on those who call you family and who you call family, both the family you're born to and the ones you have chosen. You may have felt lonely in your challenges, believing perhaps that others would not support you, or perhaps you're too afraid to ask for help. Please know that there's so much help available from people who are eager to support you in any way they can. Embrace those who dwell within your personal community and know that the village is ready whenever you call. Whether you require financial assistance, are seeking new opportunities, or wish to share a piece of yourself, or need a helping hand from your partner, receiving this card in your sign is your sign that there is someone who can offer you exactly what you need to make it through. And I don't know about you, but I know that many people who were raised and socialized as women have a lot of trouble asking for help for themselves.
Absolutely. It is very difficult for me.
I'm reading this book, Burnout, by Amelia and Emily Zibida. And can't remember the last name. And one of the things they talk about is the difference between human givers and human beings. And a lot of women and people socialized as women grow up being human givers, do all the things that the human beings, those who are allowed to just be, need. And we don't have that time for ourselves because there's always somebody who needs us. We're the last priority because we are the human givers. And so asking for help for yourself is like weakness.
Yes. I very much was, I was very much raised that way. And it's really, really difficult for me to reach out. And it was, it's so funny because several times in the last couple of months, I've had wonderful female friends who have said to me, you do realize you have people to ask, right? If you need us, we're there for you. You know that, right? And I'm like, well, I guess I knew that, but I didn't really know that. Like, I don't really think of I can ask these people for help because we are socialized that if we ask for help, it's a burden.
But we are also socialized to give.
To give and give and give and give until there's
so I will give you
left.
help.
Yeah.
But I don't want yours.
Yeah. And I'm like, actually, you know what? It really is nice sometimes just to know um, that there is te- that there is help. And I'm trying to relearn and retrain myself to accept that help. And part of that journey has unfortunately been that my physical body has done this chronic pain thing where I have to accept help and I have to put up boundaries because there isn't enough of me to do all that getting. So yeah, that's been a real painful lesson in more ways than one.
It is so amazing though when you actually stop and look at
Mm.
what kind of community you've built
Mm-hmm.
and just the kind of help that is available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I tend to move a lot of heavy furniture by myself.
Yeah, and
Because
I know how that went the last time you did that.
I don't know if you know about the last
Maybe it was
time.
a time before that. There was a time it did not go well in recent
Well, it
history.
never quite goes well. And I have a friend, well, she's our friend, Samantha, who lives very close to me. Like we live within easy walking distance of each other.
Very close.
And she has a partner who is a very big, strong, tall guy.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a little sore because I moved all this furniture, she gets so mad. She's like, we're literally right here. I'm like, okay, it was just a couch. And I only had to take it up one flight of stairs. It's fine. Fine.
And see, my body decided, no, you're not moving a couch anywhere at all at any time. Like, I can barely move a small bag of groceries. So, like,
Your body might be in a lot of pain with your chronic pain, but at
yeah,
least it's smarter.
I mean, I'm not sure which way I would really want to go. The smarter chronic pain body or the not so smart one that keeps getting itself in trouble.
Honestly, neither of us are doing great. I
No,
bet there's someone out there who has neither of those things and just can ask for help when they're moving heavy furniture.
I'm sure there is. That is neither of us. Although we're learning, we're trying, we're working on it.
We're
And
learning. We have community.
exactly. Community is so important. And I think that's a thing that we're all learning now, how important community is in this
So,
world.
with that, happy
Yeah.
Ostara, everyone.
Yes, happy Ostara. Happy Worm Moon.
Happy lunar eclipse.
Yes.
We've got
So
a lot
exciting.
going on in the next week.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to check out all the links in the show notes for where you can get Linda's deck and books and where you can find the recipe for our cocktail and find out more about us.
Please, please rate our show with 5 stars. Even if you hated us. 5 stars means that you hated us.
And 5 stars means us that you like us also.
Yeah, 5 stars is really the only rating. Like,
and share us with any of your friends that love podcasts, love witchy things, love weird people who ramble a lot.
And books, love books.
And books. Yeah, absolute. Well,
alrighty.
And join us next time on Cliffhangers and Cocktails.
Bye.
Bye.